guys, Dr. Chris at MC Chiropractic. We're back with another episode of Fitness Friday. This week we've got a special guest with us today, Jason Natal at Venture Fitness, our head trainer. We're going to go through a quick home test that you guys can all do to help figure out whether you have short, tight hip flexors or whether you have weak hip flexors masquerading as tight hip flexors. We talked to a lot of people that say, I always have such tight hip flexors, but they just can't seem to get them stretched out. So whether you're sitting around at a desk all day long or doing a lot of driving, you can get tight hip flexors from that, but they also could be weak. So just having that involved doesn't really tell us whether they're tight or weak. We also know that that pain that you get from hip flexor issues, whether they're tight or weak, can be this low back pain that kind of wraps around the groin in the front of the hips. Causes a lot of pain. Maybe we're just stuck in this position, we can never quite seem to stand up, or we've got our kind of butt out position here that we can't get rid of and actually get into a neutral position. So let's go ahead and break this down. I'm going to ask Jason to lay down on the bench here for me. I'm going to lay a towel right about here so that he can lay back down. That towel should be right under the small of his back. At home, we can do this on the end of the bed. We can do it on a weight bench or a sturdy table. Make sure that we're not doing anything too wobbly or that won't support your weight. We're going to pull both knees up to his chest here, okay? And I want you to pull your hands in on those shins. So we want to make sure that that towel is nice and tight there. I don't want to be able to pull that towel away, okay? So that's an important part of this test. We're going to go ahead and keep those knees there and let one leg fall down now. So if we can keep our back in that position where we can't pull the towel out, but he can get his thigh all the way down to 0 degrees, let that knee bend off the table. We want to be able to at least get down to 0 degrees. That's full extension there of the hip. Some people are Gumby, okay? Some people can go to 30 degrees of extension, so we might need our sit bones a little farther off the table to actually feel a good stretch here, but this isn't causing any pain and problem, right? So Jason's got pretty flexible hip flexors. We would bring this back up and double check the other side. We see the same thing here, pretty easy for him to get in hip extension. So we know Jason doesn't have tight hip flexors. Well, let's see if he's actually strong. Come on up. We're going to go ahead and get that towel on the way. We're going to just stand with our feet up on the bench. We want to find something that's about knee height, okay? So we got to get our legs up so that when we pick up that leg, go ahead and lift that up for me. We want to get that hip above 90 degrees. We only can use our high hip flexors, your iliopsoas muscle, to get above there. So it's a good way to eliminate some of the other muscles that might be a problem in this. We're going to hold this as long as we possibly can, up to a full minute. We'll speed that up a little bit here and just say that we held for a whole minute. But if we're feeling any pain in our lower back, if we're shaking or wobbling a whole lot, if we're getting burning or aching pains in our groin, that tells us we really want to put that leg down. I just can't hold it for a full minute. Let's say maybe we only make 15 or 20 seconds. That tells us that's a weak, high hip flexor, and we need to strengthen that up. That can make us feel really tight. It can pull us down into this position because it's not strong enough to hold our body up in that neutral position. So the best way we can go about fixing both of these, let's break down how to fix both of them so you know how to take care of them at home. We're going to go back to laying down on that bench again. And the test, that Thomas test, that's the name of the orthopedic test we're using here, is actually the way to fix it. So we're going to bring both legs up. We're going to make sure that we can't pull that towel up from underneath us. And we're going to lay out something with one leg extended and hold that for a full 1 to 2 minutes, okay? If you can't get that leg to touch down after a full 2 minutes, it's okay. Come back to it another day, maybe later in that day. But keep stretching for up to a full 2 minutes at the same time. As you improve and that hip flexibility actually improves, you're going to notice that you can get that hip down on the edge of the bench. So again, if this was a tight hip, we might see his leg floating out in the air here. Or maybe he can only lower it down to the bench if he keeps that leg straight the whole time. A lot of people will get here, but if we actually bend their leg, it'll pop up their thigh into the air. This is a tight hip flexor. And so we want to give it time to relax, and slowly over the course of a minute or two, most people will drop considerably. The number one reason why most people don't loosen up their hip flexors by stretching is because they just don't hold the stretch long enough. So he'll even it out on the other side now. We want him holding it for another full 1 to 2 minutes, making sure that we're not deviating way off to one side or curling our leg in to try to get it deeper. We want to get a nice straight over the edge of the table stretch on there. Once we hold that long enough, we could get to more dynamic stretches, but let's go into a kneeling lunge stretch next. So if that seems too easy and we can get all the way thigh down the table, but we still seem to tighten up after all, let's get into a kneeling lunge right in front here, Jason. Oh, let's go sideways. No, let's just face this way. Good. Go ahead and into a lunge position, knee on the ground. So Jason was ready to go to the advanced version because he's good at all of these already, right? But we're going to go ahead and just have him drive a little bit of pressure forward. We're going to keep our abs tight, pulled in. We don't want to arch our lower back. Keep that on the ground, and let's just drive the hip forward. So we're trying to get into more hip extension. You can see he's clearly getting behind his lower back right now. This is a much bigger stretch than on the table, right? Okay. So feels good though, shouldn't have any pain here. Point out where you're feeling the stretch for people. So all the way down that thigh, pretty good, right? Yeah. And if we want to reach just a little bit, pulling that arm up into the air, we might even feel that high part of the hip flexor right there, okay? So this is a little bit more advanced version, but everybody should be getting great stretch from this right now. And if you can get this position with no back pain and just a good pull down the front of that hip flexor and ab group, you've probably got pretty flexible hips by this point. So those are good fixes. Try them both out if you have tight hip flexors. Let's go back to if you've got weak hip flexors. Why don't you come back around here, Jason? We're gonna grab a band like this. Little loop band works great. You can pick these up online or anywhere. We got them in the office here if anybody needs them. Let's lay down again in front here on your back, please. On the floor. Yep. And we're going to go ahead and put that on his feet, and we're going to lay him down on the floor flat. And he's just going to march for us. So go ahead and pull one knee up at a time as high as you can. He's going to pull that in, keeping his low back flat to the floor as well as he possibly can the whole time. Set that down. After a second or two squeeze, bring up the other leg. We're just going to march about 10 reps in a row on these. Now, if we start arching or lifting our back, once you set that down, once you bring this leg up and show them a bad rep where you arch your back a little bit. Yeah, if we see ourselves arching like that, again, our core isn't holding ourselves stable enough, and we're not really getting a full strengthening rep on that side. So we always want to keep our low back depressed down to the floor, bring up that other leg. So our starting area, we just work on getting those hip flexors engaged. Go ahead and set that down. Come on up and pop that off the feet for a second. Again, the test can oftentimes become the exercise here. So we could stand in front of the bench and hold for time. Just make sure that we get into that hip flexor position above 90 degrees and hold for endurance. Strength and endurance is important for these muscles so that we can hold our posture for long periods so that our low back doesn't start aching after, sitting for 20 minutes at a time or an hour when you're working. So we're gonna hold that, work your way up to a full minute. If that's just too dang easy, like we'll see for Jason here, we show them the advanced movement. Step one more time back in front of the bench. We're gonna get that same band on his feet. And we'll have him face toward the camera so you can see him march. And we're just gonna hold that good neutral low back position and pull one foot up. There you go. Hold for a second, put it back down. Pull up on the other side. And so sometimes people will see that one hip flexor is a lot stronger or a lot tighter than the other one. You're working to even them out. Go ahead and set it down, pull the other one back up. So sometimes people will notice that they fatigue after 2 reps on one side, but they can knock out 8 or 10 on the other side. Go ahead and set it down, other side up. We want to just even these out. Make sure you do even numbers of rep or an even amount of hold time on your stretches. Hopefully these will help you out to determine whether you have tight or short hip flexors or whether you're dealing with weakness. Remember, if you have a lot of pain going on, come in the chiropractic office, get you fixed up at Venture Chiropractic. If you're just dealing with tightness or weakness that you can't quite get the hang of, and these didn't totally make sense to you, come and talk to Jason here at Venture Fitness. He'll get you sorted out. Remember, we're always here at Venture Chiropractic and Venture Fitness to help you move better, feel better, get better you.
Everybody's moving, everybody's moving, everybody's moving, 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 moving. Everybody's moving, everybody's moving.